What an incredible place this is with very beautiful people. But we have a governor in Greg Abbott, and by the way, also a terrible lieutenant governor in Dan Patrick. We have statewide leaders who, instead of building up our economy and building up our people and bringing people together and doing everything that they can to unite this great state and its beautiful people, they do everything they can to tear people down and to divide people and turn people against each other. They're so scared, even if they just telling the history of the state, that they're pulling school books off of library shelves because they're so scared of just telling history. And so Texans deserve better than that. Texans deserve a vision for the people of Texas. They deserve our next governor of the state of Texas. Of 2022. That's why we're here, right? Listen, I am sorry that I'm late, but I've learned my lesson. You know, Antonio on a Friday afternoon. But if you are going to keep people waiting, make sure they're waiting at Picks and there's plenty of beer on the tap, and I want to keep them in their cups, not too many cups, just enough cups. Tommy, thank you for getting us going. Thank you for showing us what public service should be. Literally walking with your constituent to the Central Appraisal District to fight for her so her property tax burden is a little bit lower. Trying to do that for everyone in your precinct. Joaquin Castro in the United States Congress, regardless of whether that guy was in the majority as he is now today, or when he and I served together for 6 years in the minority, the most tenacious fighter that we had up there. Fighting not just for Democrats, but for everyone. Fighting for justice in this country, and he's doing it each and every single day. Let's keep that guy in office and see him move up and up and up. You know, Tommy was just talking about property taxes and appraisals. And if you have yet to open your notice, please make sure you're sitting down when you do, okay? Property taxes are set to increase in San Antonio more than they have any other year, absent great leadership from people who are going to be able to manage the finances of this county, of these many, many, many school districts, of this city and other communities in Bexar County, because appraisals are going through the roof right now. And lest you think that is just our fate or our future or our fortune or our dumb luck right now, there is one person in this state who is responsible for it. In the 7 years that Greg Abbott has been the governor of the state of Texas, property taxes have gone up $20 billion, or 40% from where he first took office. That looks a lot like and feels a lot like inflation to me, caused by Greg Abbott. Rents, because even if you are not a property taxpayer on a home that you own but you rent, you better believe those property taxes are coming through your rent as well. Rents are increasing here in San Antonio faster than they are in New York City right now. Those are the property taxes and the inflation that Greg Abbott is causing. When that guy could not keep the lights on in the energy capital of the world last February and allowed those oil company CEOs to steal $11 billion from us over 5 days while people were literally freezing to death in their homes, lights aren't on, heat's not running, water's not flowing because the pipes have frozen just before they're about to burst and destroy your homes. Instead of clawing back those illegal profits, that inflation that he allowed them to cause, he passed the buck on to you. $50 on average per ratepayer across the state of Texas per month. This month, next month, and every month projected for the next 20 years. That's Greg Abbott driving inflation in the state of Texas. And then my friend Joaquin talked about this pendejada at our international ports of entry, where the governor of the biggest trading state in the union boycotted and blockaded Texas and Texas businesses, and it was quote unquote economy killing. Now, who said that? It was the statewide Republican elected agricultural commissioner Sid Miller, who said that Greg Abbott is killing the economy of Texas. You are paying more at the grocery store because of this guy, and we gained zero in security or safety. Not one human who's being smuggled in this country, not one drop of fentanyl or illegal drugs were captured in this stunt in operation. The only person who benefited was Greg Abbott for the 3.5 minutes that he got on Tucker Carlson. All the rest of us are paying more at the grocery store as a result. Greg Abbott is the single greatest cause of inflation in the state of Texas, and he will continue to be until 2020. We got to do this. And listen, while this guy is focused on the stunts and the political points and getting on cable TV, when we were freezing in our homes, blaming windmills and the Green New Deal and people far, far away from Texas, instead of being there as your county commissioners and members of Congress and city council members and everyday neighbors were knocking on your door to see if you needed some help, you needed transportation to a warming center, if we could keep you alive at that defining moment of truth. He was on cable TV. Your junior senator was at the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. But you were here, follow your lead, because when we do that, we get back to the big things that we should be known for. Right now we're making headlines around the world for all the wrong reasons. Let's start making headlines for the things that we're actually proud of going forward, right? Here is something I bet we can find enough common ground on to bring every Republican, Independent, Democrat, and current eligible but non-voting voter to the table. What if the best jobs in the United States of America were being created right here in the state of Texas? What if more people working under a living wage than any other state in America were to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 until we can ultimately get it to $15 and beyond? What if you could take time to be with your kids, to take care of your sick parents, to take care of yourself when you need it, without risk of being fired or losing your paycheck? What if, as a woman, you made just as much as every man makes doing the same job for the same value, and you actually got the same pay? Y además, what about this? What if, in addition to the wages that you earn, so that you don't have to work a second or a third job just to make ends meet, what if you not only earned enough not to be on the streets tonight, or sleeping in a shelter, or dependent on public assistance, but when you woke up to go to work, you had that sense of purpose and function and fulfillment for which each and every single one of us craves and cares about for our kids and our grandkids? That's the future that I want here in Texas. That's the future we all want, and it starts with great jobs right here in San Antonio. Second point, something else that Greg Abbott has not been focused on when he's been looking after himself, his cronies, and his big dollar donors, and that is world-class public schools in the state of Texas. So, for my public educators who are with me, the school nurses, the classroom teachers, the auxiliary staff, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, the custodians, everybody who makes this possible. First and foremost, I want you to know that I'm grateful. And if there were ever a time you needed to hear that in Texas, it is now. Because you are under constant daily attack from your governor who tells you what version of history you're allowed to teach the kids in your classroom. A governor who wants you to turn in the parents of transgender kids to be prosecuted for child abuse. A governor who wants to hold you to a high-stakes, standardized test that in no way adequately measures the potential or the performance of those kids in front of you, or the effort you have made to connect with them and to stoke a lifelong love of learning. If I were governor, I would cancel the STAR test this year. But we deserve more than things. Check this out. In Texas, the school teacher on average, the educator on average, is underpaid by $7,500 against his or her counterpart nationally. Now, $7,500 down, not from the best, not from the highest paid, but just from the average. And as my fellow Texans, you can agree, we are anything but average in this state. I don't want to make sure that our teachers are treated as just average, but just to get to par, we're $7,500 down. But in San Antonio and in Bexar County, teachers and educators today, check this one out, are making $9,000 less than they were 10 years ago, adjusted for inflation. You want to know why half of all teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years? You want to know why they're leaving by the thousands in the state of Texas today? You want to know why my 11-year-old in 5th grade at Mesita Elementary, the same public school I went to, has had 4 different substitute teachers this entire school year, not a single permanent teacher in the classroom? It's not good for him. It's not good for his classmates. It's not good for our community. It is not good for our state. So how about this? What if we started treating teachers and educators as the professionals that they are, with the respect and the dignity that they are due, superseded them in the classroom, who have not had a cost of living adjustment since the year 2004, for retired teachers, a cost of living adjustment every year going forward after lead of one of the great mayors of San Antonio, the brother to the current congressman. We have all-day pre-K in every community in the state. Are learning at the age of 3 and 4 how to read, how to write, ultimately how to add up, but also just how to be good and cool with one another. See each other not as one another's enemy, but as each other's friends. Ability to collaborate, to find consensus, and yes, I know this is a dirty word in American politics today, but also to compromise. At a time that democracy is under attack, more so than in Texas than anywhere else in the country, these public school classrooms are one of the last places where Americans come together, regardless of zip code or ethnicity or race or any other difference between us, and find our common humanity, and those classroom educators are the ones who make it happen. When we win this, and when I am governor, and when we are working together, Texas will be the education state, and we're going to do third one. How about this? How about this?
You can do this.
Yes, we can. That's right. We can all do this. I love this. We are the least insured state in the United States of America. Now, what the hell does that mean, right? Is that just an abstraction? Is it a statistic? Is it something that you hear politicians talk too much about and do nothing to resolve? Well, it means that someone right now in Texas has diabetes, has glaucoma, has no insurance, no insulin, no help, and is going to die at the age of 35 in the 9th largest economy on the planet, within the wealthiest, most medically advanced country the world has ever known. That person will die of diabetes, not for lack of resources or wealth, but simply because we have failed in the lack of political will. I want to make sure that not only do we expand Medicaid in Texas, as every one of our border states has done, most under Republican governors, not only to bring $10 billion in a year of federal money that was ours in the first place that we sent in federal income taxes, not only do I want to attract more providers to communities like San Antonio and mine in El Paso, but also underserved rural communities all across the state of Texas, but I want to make sure that everyone right now who is fated to die of a curable cancer or the flu or yes, diabetes, is able to live their life to their fullest, healthy enough and well enough to live to their full potential. Not only will they do better, but each and every one of us will also do better as a result. And the kicker is, if we accept Medicaid expansion, 90 cents on the dollar, by the way, and Medicaid originally signed into law by our fellow Texan LBJ, so we should do the right thing and bring it back here. If we accept Medicaid expansion, we will lower property taxes, because when that person with diabetes who's uninsured finally gets too sick to take it anymore, when the suffering becomes too much and they go to the hospital and that bill is $50 or $150 or $250,000 and they have no capacity to pay for it, it doesn't mean that the bill disappears or evaporates. It means that you and I pick up the cost through higher property tax bills, or if we are lucky enough, and that is all we are if we have insurance, if we are lucky enough to have insurance, higher premiums as well. So this one is, if there is a no-brainer out there, this one is a no-brainer. We will find Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike who support making sure everyone in Texas can see a doctor, be well enough, be healthy enough. So, when you finished your beer, when you have tipped your server generously, and you go home and you're talking to your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your kids or your brother, on Monday when you go in and see your classmate or your colleague and they say, what was this guy Beto talking about when you saw him? Say, look, he was talking about great jobs. He was talking about world-class public schools having the backs of our school teachers. And he was talking about ensuring that everyone can see a doctor. Those three things unify this deeply divided state and offer the perfect contrast to a governor who is constantly pitting us against one another on the things that matter most to all of us. What if instead of fighting one another, we could bring each other together and do the things that we hold in common? Jobs, schools, healthcare, and for anyone who's interested, legalizing marijuana in the state of Texas. We can get behind these ideas. But in order to get on the right track, we've got to get past the guy who's in this position of power and public trust right now. This guy who will not bring us together on the big things that we just described and agreed on, Republican and Democrat alike, but who instead, as Joaquin said, has put a $10,000 bounty on the back of anyone who assists any woman in accessing her constitutional right to an abortion, and is making much worse an epidemic in maternal mortality that is 3 times as bad for black women in the state of Texas as it is for white women. And I'll tell you what, it's not just harder to get an abortion. Try getting a cervical cancer screening or any reproductive health care help, or just to see a doctor at all when every reproductive health care clinic in the state of Texas, más o menos, has already closed. When I'm governor, every woman makes her own decisions about her own body and her own future, her own health care, every single time. This governor who is fixated on transgender kids, is calling special sessions to pursue them, to decide which bathroom door that they can go into, which sports they can play, and now wants to criminalize their very existence in the state of Texas. Listen, as you all know, the Department of Family Services in Texas and Child Protective Services has been ordered by the governor to investigate the parents of transgender kids for child abuse. If that accusation is sustained, that child is taken, torn from, literally, the arms of their parents, loving parents who are trying to negotiate and navigate one of the most difficult times in a child's life. As a parent of 3, I can only imagine. And he does this at a time that there are 30,000 children in the foster care system in the state of Texas, a system that Judge Jack 6 years ago said that when those kids come out of it, they're more damaged than when they went in. A system which just 3 months ago, the same Judge Jack said has gone from bad to worse. A system where last year, 100 children in the foster care system died in the custody and care of the state of Texas. Hundreds more were trafficked for their bodies, 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. Instead of fixing that problem and helping the most vulnerable among us, Greg Abbott is targeting and trying to tear away those kids who have loving parents already. When I'm governor, we are going to fix CPS, hire more caseworkers, pay them more, help these kids out, and stop privatizing the care of foster kids in the state of Texas. And then this. I see veterans here who've served in every single era of combat and service to this country. Thank you for... But in this great democracy, where you swore an oath not to the president, not to his or her party, not to anything other than the Constitution and our democracy and our form of government, in this state, 2 months ago, a World War II veteran, 95 years old, this guy literally was willing to lose his life to fight fascism, half a world away in 1944, to defend democracy right here at home in San Antonio, denied the right to vote not once, but 3 different times. That's how many times his request for a mail-in ballot was rejected in the state, because get this, Greg Abbott signed a bill last year that says, if you want to vote by mail because you're 95 years old and we're in the midst of the most deadly pandemic we've seen in the last 100 years, you're going to have to use the same form of ID today in 2022 with which you registered to vote in 1943. The guy can be forgiven for not having that on hand right now. But this is the kind of thing that we are doing to our fellow Texans, Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike. Greg Abbott does not trust the voters of this state to decide who will lead them in the highest positions of public trust. We are going to overcome that by winning this and ensuring that this state is the easiest in which eligible citizens can vote. Same-day voter registration, automatic voter registration, voting day a state holiday, no excuse, everybody votes in Texas. We've described what we're for. This is the last part of what I want to say, and then I want to listen to you. This is how we're going to get it done. Let me read you some numbers. In 2018, when we were all running for the United States Senate together, in Bexar County, I got 327,000 votes. Not bad, right? But check this out. In 2020, arguably the most important presidential election of our lifetimes, there were 353,000 voters in Bexar County who did not cast a ballot, even though they were eligible to do that. Reminder, I lost to Ted Cruz by 216,000 votes. Since 2020, another 104,000 voters have been added to the rolls in Bexar County. So the 353,000 who did not vote in 2020, plus the 104,000 who've just come on the rolls, primarily young people who've aged into eligibility, primarily new U.S. citizens who've naturalized here in the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, these are going to be our voters, but I need your help to reach them, right? We're under the greatest attack against American democracy that this country, or the world for that matter, has ever seen, and the epicenter for it is right here in Texas. Would it not be some pretty profound, poetic political justice if the very people targeted for suppression and intimidation made up the margin of victory because we've knocked on their doors, brought them in, and they turn out on election night in November of 2022? So here's the deal. There is a short number that I would love for you to text the word Texas to. If you will text Texas to 20377, I will sign you up right here to knock on their doors. We know where they live. We know their name. They're just missing the conversation that you will literally be able to bring to them, eyeball to eyeball, face to face, human being to human being. In this deeply divided and overly digitized age, that's going to be some pretty powerful stuff for another human being to show up at your door and to invite you in. The number one reason given by non-voters in Texas for not participating in past elections is that no one showed up to ask them. We are going to be the cavalry that shows up for our fellow Texans right now, and I need you in this. Are you all willing to join me? Do you want to win this race? I want to win this with you, for you, and by you. Thank you, San Antonio, for coming out. Thank you, Pix, for hosting us. Cynthia Cano, do we have a microphone? So Cynthia Cano's got a microphone right here. If you have a question, we want to get some people into the conversation, an idea, a suggestion. We want to hear from you. If there is an IPA that could make its way to this spot right here, that would also be awesome.
All right, here we go. Here's our first question.
Hello, my name is Gideon. I'm one of your future transgender constituents. We've met before, actually, and one of the primary reasons I'm here is to thank you, because the last time I met you, I asked you this question, and I was so impressed with your answer that I went to work for you. And thanks to your wonderful insurance and the way that you compensated us, just so everyone knows. So if you want to work for Beto, this is my plug for it. I was able to afford gender-affirming care, life-saving gender-affirming care. So thank you.
Thank you, Gideon.
Thank you. And then the second reason why I'm here, I wish I didn't have to be here for this reason, but I work for 3 different support groups for transgender individuals, and we need to know, what are you going to do to help protect transgender children?
I also hate that you have to ask this question right now in the state of Texas. I mean, this is a state that prior to this governor, by and large, was known for being a state that is big enough for all of us, right? Big enough for our dreams, big enough for us to do everything within our power to realize and achieve those dreams, regardless of our differences, and in fact, celebrating those differences, knowing that they make us stronger, more successful, and yes, even safer. But when you unleash the kind of hatred that this governor has against transgender children, against immigrants, against someone whose history doesn't make you feel comfortable in school, against anyone who is labeled as other than those who are already in power, already calling the shots, already calling the tune, then you have some of the violence that we have seen committed against transgender Texans, against immigrants in this state. 23 people gunned down in my hometown just on August 3rd, 2019 alone. When Greg Abbott says, hey, there's an invasion of these people coming into our state, I need you to take matters into your own hands and defend yourselves. Well, there was a guy who heard exactly what the governor was saying, drove down to El Paso, Texas with an AK-47 to, as he put it, repel an invasion of Hispanics who are coming to politically take over this state. I just want you to know that you're in the company of many others who have been targeted by this governor right now, but you're also in the company of all of us, and we have got your back, and I will have your back every single day now and when we win this, and I'm your governor. Thank you for being here.
All right, Beto,
A lot of love for you here.
To your right. Oh, look at that. Noah, we do not need the IPA anymore. He has one. Okay. I'm over here to your, right here. There.
Alright, so due to last year's little snowmageddon that we got, it was a hard time for a lot of us and for my mom, who was sent to the hospital during that time, and I had to drive to the medical center. I live over by Bulverde, Texas. And I had to drive to the hospital to visit my mom, which almost took 2 hours because I had to drive at such slow speed. So what will you do to help us prepare in case such an occurrence were to ever happen again? And you know, what has Greg Abbott done that you would have done differently too?
Great question. This is about why in this great energy producing state, can we turn the volume down just a little bit, that we were unable to keep the power on, the lights going, the heat running, the water flowing. Why did more than 700 Texans that we know of lose their lives? An 11-year-old boy in Conroe, Texas, whose mom could not pile enough blankets on top of his body, and he froze to death in his own bed in this state. Veterans going out to charge their oxygen tanks in their truck who were found dead of hypothermia the next morning. This happened in Texas just a little more than a year ago. And the question is, why did this happen? I just want to make sure everyone understands, this was not an act of God, nor of Mother Nature. This was the fault of one man and one man alone. We were hearing about Harry Truman earlier. He told us all where the buck stops everywhere. And that's at the very top. And in Texas, that is the governor's office. This governor who was warned as far back as 2011 about the underlying vulnerabilities in our grid and the need to winterize and weatherize every single part of it, including the gas supply. But he didn't do that, and it might be because some of his greatest donors had an interest in not investing in the gas supply, and so you literally had gas freezing at the wellhead here in the state of Texas, gas that could not get to the power generators here. CPS Energy here in San Antonio was charged 200 times the going rate of gas. And again, that wasn't the market. It was not the invisible hand. It was Greg Abbott who literally gave the green light to charge the maximum price, and not for a few minutes and not for a few hours, but for days. That's the $11 billion in illegal profits that were made by people like Kelsey Warren and his company, Energy Transfer Partners, and others. And then for Kelsey Warren to turn around within months and write Greg Abbott a $1 million campaign contribution check tells you everything you need to know about how we could do something that is otherwise inexplicable to the people of Texas, because he has still not fixed the grid. He has still not winterized and weatherized the gas supply in the state of Texas. And the energy and electricity experts tell us if we have weather that is as bad as we had last February, as extreme and as severe, we're going to have the kind of blackouts that we had last year. We're going to lose more Texans. We're going to have more property damage. We're going to have a bigger hit to the Texas economy. So you ask, what will we do differently? This one you're going to see from a mile away. We're going to winterize and weatherize every part of the grid, including the gas supply. I don't care what it costs these people who own this infrastructure. They're going to do it because it's a lot cheaper than losing the lives of our fellow Texans. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Second, we're going to get back that $11 billion that they stole from us. It was highway robbery. We had no choice. They could charge us to the moon, and we had to pay in order to keep our fellow Texans alive. That's why we're paying $50 more on average per month in this state, something that we refer to as the Abbott tax. Third, we're going to have an independent market monitor for the sale of fuel in the state of Texas. There is one right now for the sale of electricity. That's why electricity rates, more or less during that disaster, did not spike through the roof, because there's a cop on the beat who prevents them from shaking us down. There is no such cop, no independent market monitor for gas. We're going to implement one as well. And then the last one, and this is really important. As rates go up, I mentioned $50 on average for the average Texan per month going forward. In addition to property taxes and other inflation that Greg Abbott has caused, people are getting priced out of their homes in the state of Texas. We are going to lower utility rates in this state by getting that $11 billion back, returning it to the consumer, and making sure that we invest in energy efficiency and weatherization so that we draw down more power in the first place. And then the last thing, look, if we do all of that, and if we also invest in expanding our energy leadership through geothermal, through hydrogen, through wind and solar. On this Earth Day, I want to remind you we could lead the way in confronting climate change before it is too late. This is all connected. Thank you for asking.
First of all, it's an honor to meet you. My name is Jeff, and I am 62 years old, and I was a Republican up to 2012, which I changed parties at that point. There's a lot of us out here. My precedent for doing it was I have an adult daughter who came down with multiple sclerosis in 2012. The ACA, I was paying over $20,000 a year for her medication, and she takes a drug called Copaxone. She had to have it to live, like you said, so you touched a very important point. And I really started thinking to myself, I said, this is not right. I'll understand that I was a six-figure earner. I said, it's not right that I can afford to do this, but the person down the road, through no fault of their own, it's immoral, it's inhumane, and I think this is so important that people have a right to get care. And what they did, a lot of people don't even know when the Medicaid expansion that this state fought, put a bunch of people in this donut hole where they made too much to get Medicaid and too little to claim the rebates for the insurance premiums. Because I read the whole law, and I said, we're in this donut hole. They just tried to close it. And obviously, the federal government got pushed back recently in the recent session. We got to do something to help these people because they are just suffering out here. And if you can't get it, you can't pay, they won't send the medication. So I really appreciate your stance on expanding Medicaid for people that are average income. I'm not talking about wealthy people. I'm talking about people that are average income. So thank you for making this a big, big point because our legislature, state legislature, I've actually sent Senator Campbell, who's my senator, emails, no response. I've sent it to the governor, no response. They've lost their moral compass. There's a morality and humanity to life, you know. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. Look, as the gentleman says, this just makes good common sense in a state that ranks 50th in access to mental health care. Our fellow Texans in large numbers are getting arrested, sometimes on purpose, for treatment for schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and clinical depression because the county jail system in the state of Texas has become the largest provider of mental health care services in this state. Largest inpatient facility is the Harris County Jail in downtown Houston. What does that say about who we are right now, that this is how we're treating one another? It's really expensive to lock someone up at $120 a day that you as a county taxpayer will foot the bill for. So much cheaper to expand Medicaid when it's 90 cents on the dollar coming in from the federal government. And I've met people in that donut hole that you described. Cynthia and I were block walking in Waco, Texas, met a woman, 4 kids, one of them with a pretty significant disability. She's also taking care of her mom and her disabled brother. They were all about to pile into a van to go to the zoo when we saw them. And she said, you know what? I just turned down a promotion and a raise at work because if I take that promotion, that raise, I will no longer be eligible for Medicaid for my kids, but I will not have enough money to be able to afford insurance for us. So I'm turning that down. I am not moving up in my life. I'm staying right where I am forever until we fix this. We have got to get ahead. We've got to do better. We will expand Medicaid when we win this race. Thank you for asking.
To your left.
Hello, Beto. Thank you for being here in Bexar County and Keno County and as your SCEC for Senate District 25. This is our area. The most important thing that we need to do is a vote by mail. We need to inform our seniors that they need to fill out both the last 4 of your social and your driver's license on there. And make sure we're filling out the back of the flip. In Bexar County, we had approximately 2,000 rejected ballots. 2,000. But thanks to the ballot board, we brought it down to 1,000. What would you do to make our seniors aware of this? This is important.
This is what we're doing right now. And this is why I'm going to plead again for everyone here to text Texas to 20377 because we need to be at the doors of these senior citizens and these middle-aged citizens and these 18-year-old citizens and anyone who is eligible to vote to explain the new rules of the road that were put in place almost mid-competition by the sitting governor of the state of Texas. And if we wait till September or October to knock on those doors and just to have a turnout conversation, we might lose 12 or 13% of the voters who are coming out right now. So I'm asking you and everyone else here to be part of this army that's knocking on doors today. We're going to ask you to get out there literally this weekend and to go meet these voters. If we do that, I am confident that we can overcome this. Look, like you, I am really proud of the generations that preceded us, especially those in the 1950s and 1960s that were working against this very same level of suppression and intimidation that tried to keep some voters in the state of Texas overwhelmingly black and brown and young. Today, I would add also those with disabilities. And Texans did not just sit back and take it. They got up and they got after it. They fought this tooth and nail. They applied the pressure that finally forced LBJ to sign the Voting Rights Act of 1965 into law. We need that same kind of organizing and pressure today. The best way to do that right now for our purposes is through this campaign. So please help me spread the word on getting people to sign up. That's how we overcome this. Thank you for asking.
Hey Beto, my name is Manny Pelaez. I'm the city councilman for this area. Welcome to District 8. Everybody, welcome to District 8. I'm so happy you chose San Antonio to spread the message today. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about something that happened during COVID. When taxes were crushing us, Tommy Calvert, the other commissioners, myself, and some of my council members, we called Greg Abbott and we said, we need some help. Can you lower the taxes? Nope. I said, all right. At the very least, we asked him, can you freeze them where they are so that they don't go up? These folks need some relief. Crickets. Nothing. Right? And then when we call them and we said, hey, domestic violence is out of hand. 1 in 3 women in San Antonio have a story to tell or will have a story to tell. We need your help. Lean in, Governor. Nothing. When we say we've got a homelessness problem and we're not going to arrest our way out of this, we get crickets. Crickets. But when it comes to talking about critical race theory, right? I mean, something that doesn't exist, he attacks that, that scarecrow, right? So here's my question for you. What was the phone number that people need to text to so that we can volunteer and block walk in my district to get you elected?
I love this. This is Texas to 20377. And listen, it does not matter to me. No me importa if a local leader is a Republican or a Democrat, or like many of the city council members in Texas does not have an R or D next to their name. As governor, I'm going to be your partner. And I'm going to be your partner on everything you talked about. I'm going to be your partner when the voters in San Antonio approve improvements to Broadway and then somehow the governor decides to shut them down. I'm going to make sure I listen to the voters in this community. I'm going to listen when you say listen. There is a public health challenge. We have a pandemic that's killing people in this community. We need to be able to do what is going to keep them alive. I'm going to listen to you and follow your lead, not prevent you from saving the lives of your fellow Texans. That's what that last governor did. We are going to partner with you and get the job done. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the reminder. Appreciate it.
Right here, sir.
Thank you.
Right here. Yeah. We wonder why our property valuation went sky high. This governor, if he qualifies to be called the governor, has wasted over $3 billion keeping undocumented immigrants in our county jails, and he can afford to send immigrants to Washington, D.C. Well, Mr. Governor, how about spending some money to get some buses to take the state prisoners from the county jails? And by the way, the Bexar County Sheriff is my son, but I'm also in communication with Sheriff Cuellar in Laredo, so I know where I come from. He has just allowed the state prisoners to stay at the county jail instead of taking them to the state prison where they actually belong.
Thank you for being here, and for those who cannot see the gentleman who just asked the question, he's wearing a Bronze Star Veteran Service hat right here, so thank you also for your service to our country. You make us proud. Yeah, let me take the question this way. What if we had a governor who was less interested in stunts at the border, putting migrants on buses, shutting down U.S.-Mexico trade, activating 10,000 members of the National Guard, taking them from their kids, from their families, from their careers, from their community, to send them down to the border where we are losing them so far, 7 so far. We are grateful for their service, but they should never have to serve in this capacity. If I were governor right now, I would end this involuntary activation. I'd make sure that we force people of Texas to confront the real challenges we have, whether it is illegal drug trafficking, or human smuggling by showing real leadership. Let's bring the people together to go to Washington, D.C. Instead of sending migrants there, let's go there ourselves and let us lead the way in rewriting our immigration laws comprehensively so that every dreamer, every parent of every dreamer is able to be here legally, fully as U.S. citizens ultimately. Let's make sure that people who want to join family are not waiting 20 years in line to do so. Let us never again separate kids from their parents or place them in cages. And let us also do this. Let us honor the laws that are literally on the books right now that we are not following. We didn't follow them in the Trump administration, and unfortunately to date we have not been following them in this administration. When someone comes here to petition asylum, we must allow them to make that petition here in the United States. If that petition is sustained, they are able to stay here. If it is not, they will not be able to stay here. But it is that simple, and we are not even doing that much right now in this country. We need solutions, not stunts at the U.S.-Mexico border. Thank you, sir.
Okay, here you go, right here. And thank you so much for raising your hands and being patient with me. There are so many hands up. I'm going to get to as many as I can.
Beto, I don't know how many people here are retired teachers, but I am.
Thank you for your service.
I did 32 years in the classroom and another 20 as a sub. But I started paying Social Security when I was 14. I paid it until I was 65. I still pay it. But because of the WEP, I found out when I went and applied for my Social Security that because I was a teacher, I could not get all that was due me. In this country have the WEP. It affects not only teachers, peace officers, and other civil servants in the state of Texas. I have asked this government to repeal Texas's WEP and got zero response.
So let me bring everyone up to speed. WEP, the Windfall Elimination Provision, which prevents people like this extraordinary retired teacher from being able to earn back what they have paid into. This is not a freebie, this is not a handout. This is something that he's paid into his entire working life, starting at the age of 14. It does not come back to him because we have somehow decided that he will get filthy rich if he has the retirement as a teacher and the Social Security that he paid into. As governor, we are going to eliminate the WEP so that every back what they paid in, what they are owed, and what they have earned. Thank you for asking. Thank you.
To your right.
Okay.
Ok, primero, usted no ha hablado nada de la policía. La policía necesita el apoyar del gobierno. Mi hijo es policía. No dan la educación, no lo maestran cómo hacer jiu-jitsu, por ejemplo. La gente que están en el cárcel, como la señora ha dicho, es porque los dejan afuera. ¿Por qué no haces algo, más educación? En Sweden, por ejemplo, la policía necesita tener la equivalente de college graduation. ¿Por qué no? Páganle más.
Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros y para la pregunta, necesitamos apoyar a la policía, también a la comunidad. Podemos pagar más, podemos ofrecer más educación, pero también es importante que la policía sea responsable a la gente que tienen la responsabilidad de proteger y servir, ¿sí? Y podemos hacerlo. Y es un tema de fondos. Es un tema de liderazgo que necesitamos y merecemos, pero que faltamos aquí con el gobernador que tenemos en Austin. Pero también es la oportunidad de los votantes aquí de cada parte de Texas para escoger a alguien que va a ser este. When it comes to the police that we have here, listen, one of the most difficult, one of the most important jobs. Few people sign up for it. It is tough day in and day out. Willing to put their lives on the line for this community to keep us safe. And we want to make sure, to the question asked, that they have the support, that they have the funding, that they have the resources, that they have the education that will allow them to be successful and by extension for all of us to be safer. But they must also be accountable to the people that they were sworn to serve and to protect. And if police are able to act with impunity, which we see sometimes all too often in some of our communities, that tarnishes the image and the reputation and the ability of police to do their job. It makes it a little bit less safe for some, more than others in our communities, to be able to safely get by day to day. We're Texans, we can figure this out. We can make sure that public safety is a greater priority in the state of Texas by doing those two things. But one thing I want you to know about your current governor. The clearance rate for violent crime in Texas, since this guy has taken office, has slid from 70% to 50%, okay? So the guy who infamously said, when signing that abortion ban bill, and was reminded of the fact there is no exception for rape and incest, Governor, what are you going to do about that? He said, well, we're going to eliminate rape in the state of Texas. Governor, how is that going? It's actually going worse. Catching fewer people, bringing fewer people to justice, less closure for the victims of these crimes. I want to make sure that we support law enforcement in these ways, but also never turn our backs on them, as this governor did when he signed into law permitless carry, which allows any person to carry a loaded gun in public without a background check, without any training whatsoever. Cops and sheriff's deputies across this state begged the governor not to do this. It would make their job harder, and more cops and sheriff's deputies have been shot down in the state of Texas than any other state in the union, bar none. Gun violence, since he signed this into law, has gone up predictably. So let's do this. Let's really make sure we mean it when we support those who serve in law enforcement by ensuring they have the resources, that they're also accountable to the public, and that we listen to them on public safety issues like gun violence. Thank you for being here. Gracias.
So many great hands up, so many great questions. These are going to be my last two.
Hi, Beto. I've been following around. I don't get involved in politics. However, I think I can be an asset for you, and you said commit right now to help. Because I'm bilingual, I speak Spanish better than English. But I have been very successful in business as well as insurance. So I think I can be an asset for you, and I don't mind walking. I put my walking shoes on. I need it anyway. But I will commit, like you said, and I'll be glad to do it. I'm here, and I can go get it for you.
Tell me your first name.
Potter.
Francis?
Francis Potter.
Okay. Let's all follow Francis's lead. She's stepped up. She's volunteered to knock on doors. She's texting 20377 with the word Texas.
I say something. If it's to be, it's up to me.
If it's to be, it's up to me. I love that. It's really good, Francis.
This is going to be our last question, but we are going to stay after, and we're going to be outside. We're going to take some pictures and say hi if you'd like to stay after.
Hi, I'm Claire Gilroy. I'm a realtor in San Antonio and surrounding areas. I will do property tax protests for free. Anybody that's interested. I'm going to give my cards to Tommy. If everybody knows how to get a hold of his office, I'll be more than happy to help.
Tommy, what's your cell phone number so that we can... Yeah, okay, we got one more question. So thank you for offering to do that. Property taxes, too damn high in the state of Texas. You're going to help people bring them down. We're going to bring them down for everybody when we win this. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darshana Gupta. Today is Earth Day, and what is your message to everyone what they should be doing?
Ms. Gupta just reminded us that today is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, everybody. She asks, what are we going to do about this? Tell me that there is a state that is better positioned to lead on confronting climate change before it is too late. We are rightfully proud of the fact that we lead the world when it comes to energy, and that we've made this country energy independent from the rest of the world. No more going to war in Kuwait or Iraq to secure our energy supply lines. No more making deals with dictators or people who abuse their own citizens just so we can have the hydrocarbons that we need. When we drive on these roads, we are burning fuel that we pumped here in the state of Texas. And the women and men who do this incredibly difficult but important work are owed our thanks. The ingenuity, the innovation that they have brought to bear has done wonders for this country. But we have to do more to answer the question that you just asked. Think about geothermal as just one form of renewable energy. The skill set required to make the most out of the heat that is underneath us right now is almost 1-to-1 with oil and gas drilling in the state of Texas. So those people who have built the energy independence that we have can also help us overcome any hurdles that we have in being the leader globally on geothermal. We could do the same on hydrogen, on wind, which we're already #1 in the country in today, and solar as well. We can create more than $1 million high-paying, high-wage, high-value union jobs in the state of Texas around renewable energy. These are the kind of jobs that we want for our kids and our grandkids and the generations to come. And these are the jobs that secure our future in a world that is still livable for our kids and grandkids and the generations that follow. Let's make sure that we get it done here in Texas. Thank you. San Antonio, thank you for coming out. Pitts, thank you for having us here today. Very grateful to you all. Thanks for having our back. We'll see you outside. Adios.